today to do my spoiler video for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. It's book 6 in the series. While it's not my favorite, I do quite enjoy it, especially upon reread. It wasn't my favorite growing up, but I feel like I understand its importance a lot more having reread it, especially as an adult, as I'm able to pick up on a few things that I didn't really pick up on as a teenager. And to me, this is the first book where you really understand why Dumbledore and Voldemort are adversaries, and the arcs of each and how Harry is involved. I think it plays out really well, and you appreciate it more upon reread than I think than original, or than your primary read. So I'm gonna go to my likes and dislikes. First, I'm gonna do my likes. My first like here is Dumbledore's development. You get a lot of background on him. Not all the background, but some background. And part of why I appreciate this is until then, he's just been this like good, all-powerful being. And with this book, you kind of understand why he's so powerful. You look at how much effort he's putting into getting the knowledge just to defeat Voldemort, and you really see how that would translate over with his abilities. And I think it really does a good job of emphasizing why Dumbledore is so highly regarded. My second like is how it shows Harry as the captain of the Quidditch team here. I know in book 5, I complained about Quidditch, but I felt that that was taken away from the overarching plot. But in this book, I think it does a really good job of developing an aspect of Harry's character that hasn't really been dwelt upon. As captain, you really get to understand his actual knowledge and ability with Quidditch and why he's so well suited to be captain and why he's well suited to the sport. And it just really, like I said, just expands a part of Harry's character that we don't typically get to interact with, because other Voldemort things are usually on the go as well. But I really liked that aspect in this book. I felt it was the appropriate time to add that aspect to his character. And then my final positive is Slughorn. Now, I don't know how many people like or dislike Slughorn, but to me, he is the epitome of Slytherin without the evil connotations that you get with Death Eaters. And the reason I say that is he knows what he wants, he knows how to get it, and he knows how to maintain power. And he does this through networking students who are going to be great. And I think this was such a good exploration of what Slytherins actually are. Just because of Voldemort, there's that taint with the Death Eaters in Slytherin. And Slughorn breaks from that mold, but still holds true to like the cunning, ambitious nature that you associate with Slytherins. And I really loved him being here because it really just showed that extra aspect of what a Slytherin can be without being evil. And now I'm going to move into the negatives. And two of them are specifically like girl-on-girl social issues. I absolutely hate the way Molly and Ginny Weasley and Hermione Granger like get super angry with Fleur. Like, I get it. There's probably a little bit of jealousy because she is considered like this absolutely beautiful person. But it makes me so mad because at one point Harry tries to defend her. It's not like, oh, she's not so bad. It's like, no, she's more than her. Like, when he defends her, he's talking about, no, she's actually very smart, powerful. Like, she was in the Triwizard Tournament with me. Like, she knows her stuff. Like, she's not just some pretty airhead who's trying to marry Bill for whatever the heck Bill she sees in Bill. I mean, he is a curse breaker, so he's immediately cool, but it makes me so mad that a family that is so diverse looks at her and is just like, nope, she's a shallow bitch, and they hate on her for it. And just every time I read that part, every time I see that part, it makes me so angry. Because Fleur is so much more than just the pretty girl. And she showed it in Goblet of Fire. And I talked about it in my review for Goblet of Fire. Second negative. This would be Lavender. I understand that Ron and Hermione kind of needed a catalyst to express their feelings more readily with each other. And Lavender was a good way to do this, but even though teenage me didn't find as big of an issue with Ron and Lavender when reading it the first couple times, reading as an adult, I just find it like overly clingy and over the top and unhealthy. And because of that, I don't really care for it. I also understand why it's there. It's just every time it came upon me, I would skim over those parts just because they were so annoying and over the top and dramatic and theatric, and I couldn't do it, okay? I could not do it. And then my final negative, I kind of mentioned in my spoiler-free video as well, and that's the pacing. Overall, it's pretty good, so the dragging in the middle really is kind of a minor negative for me. I just wanted to mention it because for how long this book is, having that middle third drag really did impact my reading of it. It slowed me right down because I wasn't as invested in what was going on for those parts. Thankfully, it's only a third of the book, so it wasn't that bad. But it was just a part where the main plot stalled, and Harry's obsession with Malfoy and his other social situations kind of needed to be resolved. So I get it. It was hard for me to read. With the characters, like I mentioned in my likes, Dumbledore had a really great arc, really emphasized his power and knowledge and why he's such a good adversary for Voldemort. Draco had his own little kind of like background story. I loved the way it developed and the way that Harry slowly found out a little bit more what was going on. Some of it was because of his obsession, but then you also have like the conversation with him and Moaning Myrtle, and they find out that Draco's like has this really deep inner struggle. And although I don't know that he necessarily needs a redemption arc, I liked the humanizing of him with moments like that. Again, with the characters, specifically the main three, they did a lot of growing up in this book. They didn't necessarily get a lot of like personal development, but in terms of their maturity, they grew up quite a bit in this book, and I really appreciated that because it set them up really well for the next book. Between the last book and this book, you're seeing the fallout from some of the trauma with all of the students, really. And I really appreciate that that was included because I think it's a really important part of developing the characters properly for the kind of situation they're in. Although I don't particularly love Harry and Draco's relationship, I think this book did a really good job of showing the depth and breadth of their animosity for each other. And that was really nice because it made it feel slightly less one-dimensional. You got to understand why the feelings of animosity were there a little bit more. And that's all I really have to say about the characters, so I'll do a quick wrap-up here. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince for me is 4 out of 5 stars. Overall, it's a pretty good read. I really enjoy it. There's just a few things like the girl-on-girl hate, the girl-on-girl like social issues that I really had a problem with. That middle third that dragged a little bit wasn't great, but it didn't pull me out as much as dragging in other novels has. And you just got some really solid side character development. You got really solid Dumbledore development. And you got not necessarily empathy for Draco, but understanding for him. And Harry himself just got like a little bit of normalcy in some of his development, specifically with the Quidditch team. And with that, that's all I really have to say about the book. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!